Here's a fun fact that you probably already know. A lot of debates are pretty bad. In judging debates, we had this fun colloquial saying that round was like two ships passing in the night. And it really is a beautiful metaphor because you have these two fine cruise ships gallivanting to their own destinations across the vast dark expanse of the ocean with no idea that there's even another one out there as they press on their own mission only focused on themselves. A type of debate like this is one where someone talks about how, hey, my case is great for the environment. And then their opponent says, but my case is great for the economy. And this is crazy because the original guy gets back up and says, well, my case is great for the environment. And could you guess it? The retort is, I have a great case for the economy. How the heck do you resolve that? What do you do when you're judging that? There are just two benefits on each side. There's no way to have any sense of what to do. A lot of debates that we see are just exactly this. People repeating what they know, their belief about why they're right, and then just kind of ignoring what their opponent is saying because they disagree with their opponent. They know they're right. They know they have an important argument. So what their opponent is saying is irrelevant or in some cases considered offensive that they would even consider it. How do we break out of this deadlock? Well, I'm going to give you a few ways how you can think like your opponent. Instead of ignoring them like a ship passing in the night, we're going to talk about how you can address them head on to win these arguments and bring clarity to debates that are often muddled and just monotonous back and forth. Now, the first key strategy is to attack them head on. Ask yourself this question. If my opponent wins the debate, on what grounds will they win it on? What argument is going to persuade the audience? What will resonate most with the judge? What is their best point? Once you identify that, instead of running from it because there's a grain of truth to it, you go full on attack mode. Directly respond to their advantages they're pointing out. If they say they're good for the economy, go into the weeds about how their economic plan is ineffective, about how maybe when implemented, it would not exactly work out, and directly pick apart any advantage they're talking about. If they say that they're going to be great for small business, you could explain how actually decreasing taxes in that way is going to take away from government programs that small businesses really benefit from. Just a hypothetical example, but you need to address them head on. Otherwise, they're going to just steal the show and run away with their own point, and you're going to end up with ships passing in the night. Now, the next thing to do with taking them head on is to make a direct comparison. Even if you don't have a lot to say about their point could have merit, you could directly compare your position to theirs. For instance, in the environment versus economy debate, if you're on the side of the economy, you could say that economic growth is the engine to solve our environmental problems because it will come up with innovations that will take us away from fossil fuels, and that's actually going to be the best long-term solution. Or that economic growth could outweigh the environmental problems because, lifting millions of people out of poverty is more significant than a hurricane, even though a hurricane is really bad and there's a lot of problems caused by it. You're not diminishing that, but it could be the case that 10 million people out of poverty or whatever your estimate is of your benefit to your plan is more important. So you don't need to have the perfect response to what they're saying. They could have a grain of truth to their position, but you just need to explain why your position is more important. And that can bring a lot of clarity to some of these debates where people are just going back and forth on their own ideas. Now, the next thing to do is to steal their rhetoric. In addition to responding on sort of the logical level about why your position is right, we got to win the rhetorical battle because debates aren't just, logic offs. They're oftentimes rhetoric and sort of displays of performances that people try to resonate with. And that's how you win a debate. Think about how Trump won the presidential debates in 2016. I'm going to give you a hint. It was not because he was a master logician. It's because he was a master showman. So how do you steal rhetoric? Well, let me give you a few examples. Say you're debating tax policy about business, and one side is saying that, well, if we raise taxes, it's going to crush small businesses. You could respond by saying that, hey, your new tax plan, yes, it raises taxes, but small businesses are getting crushed by monopolies, and the only way to solve that is by taxing those monopolies fairly. Notice how I directly stole the word crush. Crush is a pretty powerful word. It probably resonates with the audience, and it makes sense that, small businesses might be hurt by taxes. So I captured that word and took it and reframed it as monopolies doing the crushing, and I've taken a lot of thunder out of my opponent by using their word in a way that spins it makes it work for my side, and can still resonate with the audience. Another famous example of this is the Reagan debate, where people were worried that Ronald Reagan was going to be too old, and he quipped in response by saying, "I'm not going to make age an issue of this presidential election. I won't talk about my opponent's youth and inexperience." So just in one sentence, he had brought brevity, and in one sentence, he had brought humor and lightheartedness to the question of age, which increased confidence in him because he was taking on this issue head on, and also spun it to make it look like it was actually a problem for his opponent and a benefit for him. Another example of stealing rhetoric could be in a sales pitch. If your competitor says that they're the industry standard, you could say they're the industry standard in outdated technology and talk about a few ways where your technology is better suited to the problem. Again, we want to directly use their rhetoric, their key words, and all positions and all debates have some specific rhetoric that is really being relied on, and spin it against them. So I hope this gave you some useful tactical advice about how you can end up in a debate, think like your opponent, think about the key points they have, the key rhetoric they're using, and try to hijack it. Because if you can do that successfully, it's going to turn these muddled messes of back and forth into a resounding yes that you've come out on top and victorious. If you're interested in learning more about effective debating and storytelling, check out my video about how storytelling is the key to winning over any audience.